chaque personne.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيبنا وحبيب إله العالمين أبو القاسم المصطفى محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Assalamu alaikum everyone. New episode of Ramadan Reflections. We were very excited about this one. So in this episode, we want to tackle something again that touches each and every one of us. You see it in your daily life. You feel it in the actions of some people towards you, and in some ways we might be having it, this attribute. And the goal is to see what has Quran Ahlul Bayt said about it, and how do you identify the signs that relate to that attribute, and how can we get rid of it. And it is arrogance. So arrogance is defined by Webster Dictionary as an attitude of superiority manifested in an overbearing manner or in presumptuous claims or assumptions. So basically, whichever way that you show some sort of superiority over the other person or over a crowd of people, then it would be considered arrogance. And arrogance is a concept that has been for thousands of years. I mean, in Buddhism, it is referred to as mana, and it is one of the 5 positions of the mind that are not recommended. In ancient Greeks, actually, they refer to it as the notion of hubris, which is to humiliate your victims and to make sure that you make fun of them. And in the Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam all tackled that specific topic. So we're interested today in looking at what does Quran and Ahlul Bayt say about this. I mean, just to give you an example of what we're dealing with. In one of the narrations from Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, he says, "ما دخل قلب امرئ شيء من الكبر إلا نقص من عقله مثل ما دخل من ذلك." So every time that there is an amount of arrogance that enters in a person's heart, he loses the same amount from his wisdom and from his ability and from his justiceness. So today, again, I'm so excited because I haven't seen those guys in so long. I'm happy to welcome my brothers Ali Salimi, Ibrahim Darwish, and my own brother Ali. Welcome, guys. How's it going?
Hey man, how are you? Assalamu alaikum.
It's good to see everybody. So I want to start by first talking about Quran Kareem, and we want to see what did Quran say about the topic of arrogance, and what signs can we take from those verses. So I'm going to address that first to you, Ali Salim. First of all, how's quarantine dealing with you?
Well, not bad. It's been a bit boring, but not bad overall. Yeah, you get a
Amazing.
lot of rest, you know.
Awesome. All right, so tell us about arrogance.
So, arrogance. First of all, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be part of this talk show.
Very well.
Arrogance is a disease. It's a disease of the mind in which where the affected always thinks that he is superior.
Okay.
Because of either his race, his money, or his status, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But this attribute, this characteristic, makes him
Yeah.
feel superior over the rest of the people.
Okay.
And in doing so, he will underestimate his peers or his colleagues or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, this obviously not accepted in Quran. يعني,
Okay.
I have many verses I can show you that. For example, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قيل ادخلوا أبواب جهنم خالدين فيها فبئس مثوى المتكبرين. Or for example, ولا تصعر خدك للناس ولا تمشي في الأرض مرحا إن الله لا يحب كل مختال فخور. So in this case, it's actually what you should be doing. Like you shouldn't walk around proudly. The actual translation is, and do not turn your cheek in contempt toward people, and do not walk through the earth. Indeed, Allah does not like everyone self-deluded and boastful. So Allah hates this kind of attribute to his people. Yani, you shouldn't be walking proudly as if like you're better than other people because of this or because of that.
Absolutely. Actually, first of all, thank you so much for the reading. It's giving it another touch when you read it with that nice voice. So actually, one of the and I will get to the narrations with Ibrahim. First of all, Ibrahim, you chose the wrong shirt. You should have worn Real Madrid. We all know that, but whatever. So Ibrahim, I want you to tell me about what did Ahlul Bayt actually say regarding arrogance. I know that, I know that you have a few ahadith about this, but it's very it's regarded as one of the worst things that can happen to you. So tell us more about that.
Well, to begin, there's a lot of ahadith that Ahlul Bayt gave about arrogance. One in specific that is short and beautiful is one from Imam Ali. The arrogant has no friend. And basically, as you know, the most powerful thing we have in society is having friends, and friends that we can count like family. Example, my brother Ali Alves. We grew up together and we're basically from the same blood. So this is very important for our social life, and together we can help each other make better decisions and go to a straighter path. But basically, in Islam, friendship is considered as one of the divine blessings.
Okay.
It's a way to overcome loneliness and solitude. Sorry. So basically, it's mostly like exactly what we're experiencing right now in quarantine. Some of us, not seeing our friends for a long period of time, being inside, you feel that sentiment of loneliness and solitude, So an arrogant people always have that feeling. Imagine feeling like this all year long, many years. That has
Is it because they're arrogant that they don't make friends?
Well, it's basically their arrogance is developed in many categories. Like example, the arrogant people.
It's a vicious cycle.
I think one thing actually leads to another.
And then because of that, it leads again to having no friends. And then because the arrogant people are insecure. That's why they're arrogant.
It's like they only concerned about their emotions, and they neglect the other party emotions. So when you concentrate too much on yourself, you don't have that bond that creates between two people. And so there's no, even if somehow they end up with friends, there's not that that there's not that line that they can cross to basically have a mutual interest together or benefit together. So that's why friendship is very important. And if an arrogant people, most of them, their friendship is superficial. So they don't have that in hard times. They can't lean on anyone to basically save them. Basically,
it's hard to develop a bromance.
Exactly, bromance. Because we're talking about bromance, you know.
Yeah.
And also, basically, it's their arrogance. It's as you know, it's like it's the inverse of humility, right? If you're humble, okay,
Yeah.
it's like the inverse of arrogance. So if you don't have humility, basically you'll have hard time also having a good connection with people, fitting in different social systems.
Perfect. Well, I'm going to get back actually to one of the points, some of the points that you mentioned, which is very interesting, which is but first I want to address, and as you said actually, having someone that is so close to you does actually help in time like the quarantine. And I'm blessed to have my own Ali. I've been working towards developing a romance, but it's hard. You know, I mean, look at that face. So I love kidding with you, man. So how are you? How's everything?
Alhamdulillah. It's, first of all, thanks for having me. It's great to see you again.
Yeah, we'll see you later, Futur. So,
brother as well. Hopefully everybody's doing fine.
Hopefully. So, my question to you is, we have witnessed in Quran in Ahadith Ahl Bayt the effect of arrogance, and there has been some numerous stories that are always there for us to learn from. I mean, one of the methods that Quran teach us how to one of the methods that Quran teach us is by showing us an example, telling us about another people's story. So tell us a few stories that relate to arrogance.
Right. So first of all, the arrogance dates back to the initial creation of the human beings, which is when God created Adam, Nabi Allah Adam alayhi salam, and requesting everybody to bow to that being without, and then the shaitan said, I wouldn't do it. And here's where the analytical point of arrogance, the cause of arrogance, comes from comparison. As the shaitan say, you created him from sand and you created me from fire. Fire is better than wet sand. So therefore, the cause of all this is comparison. And as you compare yourself, that's the lesson we learn from this, you will develop arrogance. Over the Quran, there are other stories such as that of Namrud, which was the ruler during the time of Nabi Allah Ibrahim, where he was basically declared, even in history, as one of the strongest people, the strongest leader throughout history. There are four, but so this guy was basically God to the people, and when he heard Nabi Allah Ibrahim describing a God, that's when he asked him, okay, well, what does your God do? Nabi Allah Ibrahim said, my God can make, decide death and life. So that's when Namrud ordered to kill one person and then to let another prisoner free. And then Nabi Allah Ibrahim said, okay, well, can you bring the sun from the west?
Okay.
And Namrud really got stuck because obviously he can't. And that's when you see the power of God. And that's why arrogance has a very negative impact on the person, because only God is the ultimate omnipotent being.
Actually, to comment on that point that you just made, there's one of the hadith that I read. It's from Imam Kazim alayhi salam, and he says, "Al-kibar rida Allah, wal-mutakabbir ينازع الله رداءه. So if you actually take the being mighty, and in this case is the word is not arrogance, but being confident enough, or being mighty, I guess is the word, is something that only belongs to Allah. And for somebody who goes and actually starts feeling those attributes, like I'm better than this, I'm better than that, and whatever reason, then they are kind of fighting God for that attribute, you know?
Exactly.
Which is exactly what you're saying.
Exactly.
And so basically, what the idea is, we want to cover in the next segments. We're going to take a short break now, but we want to cover in the next segments, how do you identify somebody who's an arrogant? Because sometimes we can be arrogant, like you don't know it, because that's how human beings are. Normally, it takes somebody else to tell you, or you can, because you can't see it, you think that you're the best all the time. So how do you identify somebody who's being an arrogance? Have we, I'm sure we have all experienced arrogant people in our life. We're going to have a little conversation about that, and then in the last segment, inshallah, we're going to talk about how can we cure that, especially in this month of Ramadan. So I want to just remind everybody that we got the live chat going. We got the Slido. I highly recommend. This is a good chance. Again, I say it every time, but the idea of having this show is to kind of make up for not being able to meet with your friends in community centers or just hang out with them during the month of Ramadan, by seeing familiar faces in front of you, and you have the ability to ask them questions, or communicate with them. So feel free to ask questions, and we'll see you guys inshallah soon.
Discuss the first disease, the disease of arrogance. Brothers and sisters, the first type of arrogance that we mentioned earlier is this type of bigotry and self-conceit and hubris that stems from a particular quality that would make the individual feel superior to other people. Now, whether it's race or country of origin or ethnicity, it could be money, where a person of great wealth would exhibit signs of hubris and arrogance towards those who are less, as we call them, less fortunate. I don't like that term, but let's say those with less money, who are less endowed, if you like. And that's something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about in the Holy Quran in Surah Abasa wa tawalla an ja'ahu al-a'ma, which is often, by the way, mistranslated by so many translators of the Quran. It's just beyond me. Unbelievable how someone who's translating the Quran moves to actually misrepresent the meaning of the verses and insert their own biases and their own prejudices into the Quran. The Quran simply says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Abasa wa tawalla an ja'ahu al-a'ma. He frowned and he turned away when the blind person came and sat next to him. Rough translation of the verses. But you'll find that in some translations, they've inserted the name of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in that spot, where they say, he, in parentheses, the Prophet frowned and turned away, which is unbelievable. How on earth could Rasulullah, the one about whom God says, the Almighty Allah says, وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ, you are endowed with the greatest of morals. How could he have so much arrogance and self-conceit, so much hubris to turn away from someone just because he's poor and he's blind? Without a shred of doubt, and I implore Muslims who are watching this, who have been fooled into thinking that this is about the Prophet of Islam, those who have been deceived by the lie of Bani Umayyah, the Umayyad dynasty, which tried to tarnish the image of the Holy Messenger of God and his family by making this look as though it's about the Prophet of Islam. In that same verse, in that same chapter, a few verses after, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala curses this individual and says, قُتِلَ الْإِنسَانُ مَا أَكْفَرَهُ. May he die, may this person, this human, die how a kafir he is, how disbelieving he is. Could this possibly be about the Prophet of Islam? I say to people, use your brains, use your logic. Of course it's not about the Messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I digress. This verse, which was about one of the so-called companions of Rasulullah, right? And by the way, I find it really strange that if I were to actually mention that companion's name, people will be up in arms. Right? They will be up in arms saying, how dare you insult this great companion, this Khalifa of Rasulullah? In other words, it's not okay to insult a companion, but it's perfectly fine to insult the messenger of God himself. Who was this verse revealed about? It was revealed about Uthman. Uthman was a companion of the Prophet. So be it. They weren't infallible at the end of the day. They made mistakes, they made blunders, and sometimes God talked about those blunders in the Quran. It's no big deal. Let's move on. The point here is this, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addresses this kind of arrogance. And He says that there are people who become arrogant and develop this superiority, feeling of superiority towards other people because they happen to be rich and the other person is in fact poor. And that's absolutely unacceptable. Just because you happen to have a few extra zeros in your account, just because you have a bigger house or a faster car or what have you, does not make you a better person. In fact, most of the time, not all the time, but most times it's the opposite. Those who are wealthy, those who are rich, are deceived by the wealth that they have and are corrupted by the money that they have. Don't take it from me. I have a good friend who happens to be a billionaire with a B. He told me once that people like me, and I quote him here. I don't want to mention his name because he is a good friend, as I said. But he said to me, the reason people like us are corrupted and we lose our ways is because we are surrounded by yes men. We're surrounded by people who are trained to always agree with us. Nobody who works for a billionaire will ever stand up to them and say, you're wrong. What you did was immoral. This is a mistake. No one does that. Why? Because if you care for your job and if you want to keep that position, you don't say those sorts of things. What you do say is, yes, sir. Right? That's why they're called yes men. So this multi-billionaire says to me that we are corrupted because we're surrounded by people who always agree with us. And so we think of ourselves as being right all the time because everybody's agreeing with us. And that feeling of self-conceit, that hubris, that arrogance that comes from this is only a natural phenomenon of this disease as it grows, this tumor, as it metastatizes in our hearts and overcomes all of our other functions in our body. What happens is we are then we fall into the trap of shaitan, the trap of never giving in, never surrendering to the truth, always thinking that I'm right and everybody else is wrong. Therefore, moving on to
أمراء الكلام. عن الإمام علي بن أبي طالب عليه السلام أنه قال: أما إنه ليس بين الحق والباطل إلا 4 أصابع. الباطل أن تقول سمعت، والحق أن تقول رأيت.
All right, well, welcome back, everyone, and welcome my beautiful guest. So I want to just remind everybody, if you have questions, we got the live chat, we got Slido. Please don't hesitate to ask. So I want to start by, I'm going to go to you, Ibrahim, about what are the signs of somebody who's acting arrogant, or how do you know if someone is behaving, in an arrogant manner? How do we know if we're being arrogant? It's a good reflection on us too.
Yeah, sure. Well, there's 7 signs to know if someone is acting like an arrogant person. Someone who ignores other people's opinions. So basically, he's only concerned about his opinion. He doesn't care what you have to say.
Okay.
Yeah, that happens often. Someone who don't give credit to others. Is someone who loves receiving all the credit to himself. Whenever it's a group task, let's say, and it's a group task, and basically he only wants him to get the credit for coming up with a certain idea or whatsoever.
Okay.
He talk over others, so basically a backstabber, we could say a bit. The signs.
Okay.
Their relationship, like I said, their relationship feels superficial. So basically, it's not a real, true relationship. Basically.
So this ties back to what you said, that somebody who's arrogant, they have a hard time actually developing a real friendship, a real relationship.
Exactly, that's the thing.
Okay.
So after the 5th one is someone who can't accept feedback. So basically, he doesn't like criticism, let's say, or like.
Makes sense, because he thinks he's superior, so why should he take your opinion,
Exactly.
And the problem is that sometimes we might not, it's hard to find somebody who's gonna fully take the credit for everything, or but we might have like minuscule amounts of that. Like one of the things I read about, and you guys can comment on this, is there's the difference between kibar and takabbur. Kibar is when it's on the inside, you don't show it. You have it on the inside, but you're like, okay, I know that I'm better than this guy. But takabbur is when you start showing it. So maybe a lot of us actually are still stuck in the first level. We still only have kibar, we just think that others are this or that. And now I want to talk to you guys about did you experience this in your real life? Did you ever have an arrogance, whether you were arrogant towards somebody? It's hard to admit it on live, I know, but did you feel it towards somebody? How did you deal with somebody who's arrogant? Do you tell them on the spot, listen, sit your ass down, sorry for the words, and then how do you deal with that?
I think one of the way that many of us will feel arrogant is actually a way it's very subtle. You might not think about it every day, but let's say I go to the clubhouse and I see the guys are there playing or chilling, just talking.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like midnight and some guy says, "Oh man, I didn't pray yet. Time to go pray."
Okay.
And I will feel a bit like, oh, this guy akhar salat.
This is such a real story. It hurts.
What I mean? I prayed on time, so it's like I'm better than him. It's hard to not feel that way, but you have to try it. Even though you didn't say anything, you still you shouldn't think that way either.
Absolutely. Actually, one of the examples that they bring about how because you might develop arrogance or kibar on the inside when you see that your worship towards God is better than somebody else's. One of the stories they tell is why you shouldn't do that is the Sahara, or the magicians that were with the Prophet Musa. We're talking within like 5 minutes, and the whole action happened. They went from completely in the wrong side to repenting and going towards God, and in heaven actually. So you never really know how a person is going to act. Like you never really know how a person's end is going to be. It could be that they're a bad person now, but they will repent to God and become better later on. What about you, Ibrahim? Did you ever experience that? arrogance? I mean, I'm pretty sure in class, in real life, especially at work. At work, you get to feel it a lot.
Yeah, at work it's definitely present. I've actually had an experience before with one of my supervisors. She was it's like a young woman. We're practically the same age, maybe like 3-4 years older.
Are you blushing?
Huh?
You're blushing a little bit, aren't you?
Yeah, don't worry, she wasn't.
She was more of a sister.
Yeah, don't worry. Anyhow, so basically the problem with her is everything had to get through her before doing something else, even the small tasks. And if you would probably ask help from someone else rather than going to her, she would basically get offended. And I see her that not only with me, with a lot of staff, she gets aggressive. She doesn't have respect. She doesn't treat them fairly. So you feel that building up inside of her, and I just feel like it's like I said, there's no manners. You feel like it's a person that don't know how to communicate with other people, who doesn't have a sense of responsibility or like dignity.
At this point, it's not arrogance anymore. It's more narcissism now.
Exactly. I mean,
You know?
It's all about me. Exactly. Actually, I wanna. Especially when it comes to like work, or when it comes to situations such as, for example, this happened to me in the past. There is a class presentation, right? And you see the person that is going up there to present. He makes sure that everybody knows that he has mastered this whatever topic, even though it's probably not real. You know, like maybe half of the people in there know more about it, and especially the prof will know more about it. But they do that in order to exuberate some dominance, try to get some more grades, try to get higher, and sometimes it works. Like when you show that you're arrogant about something, it gets mixed up with being confident, and you actually do get like positions. You do get higher, let's say, at the scale. So now I want to ask you, Ali, is there a necessary amount of arrogance that we need to have in our life? And is there like there's definitely a fine line between arrogance and confidence. So where do you find that?
Yeah. So I believe that you need to be confident enough for you to go ahead and do something, whether it's a project or whatever it is, an accomplishment, to accomplish something, but not to be arrogant enough for you to ignore other suggestions. For example, you see this a lot in teamwork, in school,
Yeah.
or in work.
Yeah.
You have an idea, you want to present it to your manager with your team.
Yeah.
However, sometimes you may hear other suggestions.
Yeah.
If you're confident, you're going to believe that your idea would work, and you're going to do it in such way that others don't feel bad about it. Now that you get ujub in yourself. However, if you're arrogant, you will just ignore everybody else. The reason for that is because you made the idea and you're coming up with it. That's what I believe. What has stopped actually a lot of the science and a lot of the scientific work and other works is because a new guy comes to the table and he brings a new idea. However, the arrogant old scientist, they don't consider his idea simply because they are big in the field. However, it has proven a lot of times that new ideas are good. So that's why I believe that confidence is very important. However, there's a thin line between confidence and arrogance, and arrogance would lead to ignorance.
Absolutely. Actually, I got a question to the panel, which is from somebody who's unanimous, and he's asking, it seems like a very serious question. It's from Yusuf al-Tabatabai, and he's asking, is the goal team arrogant about it in comp? So is the goal team arrogant? Actually, now there is a real question that we got from Sayyid Hassan al-Karbala'i, and he's asking, is there a difference between confidence and arrogance, and is confidence bad? So I guess this time I'll address it to you guys. Confidence is enough about the topic that you feel comfortable, let's say, talking about. I guess arrogance is in the way that you show it. What do you guys think? What is the difference between confidence and arrogance? And is confidence bad? We know arrogance is bad. Is confidence bad?
No, confidence. It's actually very good. People follow the people with confidence. If you show confidence, people will like you. People will follow you. But if you're arrogant, you're not humble about your confidence, then that's completely the opposite. People will dislike Brahim's boss. Remember, to this day.
Yeah, they're the same age.
Yeah.
It's all about how you portray it, basically. You can be confident, but if you portray it in a bad way, it's going to be as if it was arrogant.
Just don't, the signs that he gave earlier, the 7 signs of...
Yeah.
Just be confident, but don't do that. Like, praise others.
Absolutely. I believe that confidence should motivate whatever your ambitions, but don't let arrogance destroy them.
Exactly. So give credit where credit is due. Praise other people if they need to be, not praised, but like compliment.
Absolutely. And I believe the term closed-minded is actually has a lot to involved with arrogant people because they don't listen to other ideas.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, one of the stories that comes to mind is when this guy, back in the days, when this guy didn't know how to do wudu, and Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein were there, and they wanted to show him how to do wudu. They did it in the most humble way possible, that the way that you're performing wudu is bad. They kind of had created this scenario in between them, like my wudu is better than yours, and they made him the judge, and he was smart enough to realize that they're both right, he was in the wrong, and this shows confidence without being arrogant, and always we come back to Ahlul Bayt for the best scenarios and the best stories. So we're gonna take a small break now. Again, thank you for everybody who's participating on the Slido and on the live chat. We're gonna come back. We're gonna talk about how do we increase from humbleness and cure this disease that is arrogance. And is there some special stuff that we need to do during Ramadan? And finally, as we always do, the relationship between arrogance and Imam Mahdi, or in better words, between humbleness and Imam Mahdi. So we'll see you guys soon. Stay tuned.
امام صادق علیه السلام میفرماید که اصول الکفر ثلاثه، اصول کفر 3 چیزه. 1 الحرص، 2 الاستکبار، 3 الحسد. بعد میفرماید که اما حرص که حضرت آدم رو از بهشت بیرون کرد، استکبار و تکبر که ابلیس رو بدبخت کرد، حسد که قاتل کرد قابیل رو. بازم مثال بزنم. خیلی مثال بدی میخوام بزنم. بعضی وقتا چی بگه آدم میخوای نزنم اصلا. آخه من بگم چه مثالی بود بعد نمیزنم. خوبه اینجوری بهتره. آره اونجوری کنجکاوی اذیت من میگم چی بود بعد این مثال رو نمیزنم. آقا پسر دختر خانم ازدواج میکنن. دختر خانم تا قبل از اینکه ازدواج بکنه از خداش بوده که یه ازدواج خوبی بکنه. حالا یه ازدواج خوبی کرده، طمع میاد سراغش. به من افراد بیشتری میتونن توجه کنن، اخلاقشون بد میشه، دعواشون میشه. خیلی از طلاق ها طبق آمار سال اول دوم سوم ازدواجه. اکثر طلاق ها. چرا؟ من حیف نشدم؟ طمع تو بذار کنار، کوتاه بیا. یعنی اینقدر ظریف این میاد تو دل، یه دفعه بدیهای شوهرش رو میبینه، یه دفعه کمبودهای شوهرش رو میبینه، یه دفعه احتمالات بهتر رو میبینه. تو آقا هم همینطوره. من که مشاوره نمیدم معمولا، ولی زوجهای جوان مشکل پیدا میکنن میگم چیه؟ خوشی زده زیر دلت؟ مثال بدی بود ولی این بدی هست تو جامعه ما. یعنی میزنه تو ازدواج لامصب. نگاه کن بابا، من میگم آدم ها از بهشت اخراج کرد، اینا که بهشت نیستن. بالاخره ما همه عیب و ایراد داریم دیگه. ابلیس نامرد، ابلیس ها این کار میکنه. عروس خانوم تو حیف نبودی بینی با همین آدم ها بهش اخراج کردی. زن و شوهر طمع نداشته باشن، بعد روز به روز محبتشون به هم زیاد بشه. از سرمون هم زیاد. الحمدلله الحمدلله. آقا چه عشق و محبتی پیدا میکنن به هم. بعضی وقتا یکیشون طمع پیدا میکنه، بعضی وقتا دوتاشون طمع پیدا میکنه، بعضی وقتا این یکیشون، بعضی وقتا اون یکیشون. دیگه انواع و اقسامش آدم میبینه دیگه. مقام میگیری باهاش طمع میاد، همه چی خراب میشه. ازدواج میکنی باهاش طمع میاد. آقا من روایت دارم برای ما فتح الله علی عبد بابا من امر الدنیا الا فتح الله علیه من الحرص مثله. هر بابی از دنیا رو برات خدا باز بکنه تمام بهش باش میده. این سرشه. یعنی چی بهش میگن؟ یه کالایی میدن ایستی میذارن روش. تمام جوریه. سرشت انسانه. آیه قرآن رو بخونید. ان الانسان خلق هلوعا. خلق شده اینجوری. اینقدر ظریف این میاد تو دل، یه دفعه بدیهای شوهرش رو میبینه، یه دفعه کمبودهای شوهرش رو میبینه، یه دفعه احتمالات بهتر رو میبینه. تو آقا هم همینطوره. همه تو بذار کنار.
Welcome back, everybody, in our last segment. So I want to thank everyone who's given us all this nice feedback, and actually it's what keeps us going. So thank you all for participating. And I want to go back to my guests, and this time I'm going to you, Ali. So what are a few ways that we know in order to cure arrogance, in order to gain more humbleness? Because we know that there's a direct relationship between getting closer to God and being humble. So definitely arrogance is a disease and we need to get rid of it. So how do we tackle that?
There are many ways to bring yourself down, let's say. Like, you know how they say focus on the positive? If you think arrogant, you have to focus on the negative. Like, you know, what's wrong.
Like, what is wrong with you?
Exactly, yeah. So this will bring you down, like, down a notch, you know, like, more to a more realistic level. Like, you know, it's actually written in the Quran. فَلْيَنْظُرِ الْإِنسَانُ مِمَّا خُلِقَ مِنْ مَاءٍ دَافِقٍ.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let the man consider from what he is, like, created. He's just semen. That's all he is.
Yeah. There's this other ayah which is إِنَّا خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ ثُمَّ رَدَدْنَاهُ أَسْفَلَ سَافِلِينَ. Like at the end, you're like when you look at the end, you're gonna have to be humble.
Exactly. Not only that, but the human beings, like, their whole power is limited by Allah. Yani Allah gives you the strength. You still feel hunger, you still feel thirst, you still feel you need to sleep. You need a lot of things. Like, you're not that powerful being. Like, when you start thinking about those kind of stuff, it brings you down to reality that you're not all that. You know?
Yeah, definitely.
There's a hadith from Imam Ali. عجبت لابن آدم.
Okay.
نطفة وآخره جيفة ثم يتكبر. Like, his beginning is a sperm, and at the end he's rot, and he still finds like he's still there.
Yeah.
Be arrogant.
Absolutely. And the other thing is that I guess when we practice more humbleness, I guess it goes back to what Ibrahim was saying before, is you get closer to people. You know, you get to actually build valuable relationships, because every time that you kind of develop that arrogant sense, you distance yourself from everybody. So that it has direct implications and effect on our own life, you know. So now I want to go to you, Ibrahim, about first of all, you got more about how to cure, or you good?
I can. No, that was it. But I might have something to add. Like how
Brian, do you have something to add?
On how to cure arrogance is basically what I would say the best way is to look to to yourself. Basically, it's like
keep remembering.
Like look in the mirror and see, and you know what's an arrogant person. You know the traits. You know what people like, don't like, and see what you're doing wrong and what you're doing right. Talk to yourself. Basically, it's a reflection. It's like a meditation. Also, you can, and that's how like it comes from inside your soul. It's pure. You know, it's like you versus you. It's a self.
There's actually a story. I don't know if you know it, Ibrahim. It's a slave, kind of like the story of how Nabi Yusuf. You know, he was bought off as a slave and then rose to power. Similar story like that. A slave that became the close confidant of a king.
Yeah.
And then at some point, one of the ministers that really disliked this confidant because he's a slave, he sees him every day. He opens a door. He lets nobody inside. He opens the door, he closes it. He checks on that door every day.
Okay.
Mister is like, I should report this to the king. Maybe this guy is stealing treasure or whatnot. And then one day they set up a trap. The king and the minister, they saw him in that room. What they found was a leather shoe and a very worn jacket. That's all they found. So they dug everywhere. They couldn't find anything. And at the end, they asked him, why you check up on this every day? He said, this remembers of my past as a slave, so that I can be a good servant to the king. Yeah. This is my king, and this is where I am because of the king. So
that's beautiful story. Actually reminds me of when Imam Rida alayhi salam, they came to him about the way he dresses, because you know he was the second in command for a huge empire. You know, by that time. When I think it was Mamun that put him, he used to dress in something that is very harsh, very itchy first, and then on top of that, he would put the nice clothes. And when they ask him why, it's to always keep on remembering, remembering that all this charade that is around you, all this people that are saying yes sir, and people that are following you, know that this means nothing. When you're going to the grave, you're going by yourself. You know, and so now I want to ask you, Ali, about you actually mentioned a point where there's a relationship between arrogance and ignorance. Is it because when you're arrogant, you kind of being close-minded, like you said, by assuming that you're the best at something, or that you know better than everybody else, while we know for sure there is somebody better than you everywhere else? What did you mean by that?
Well, when I said that arrogance is related to ignorance, I mean that arrogance is an irrational feeling.
Okay.
As we all know, once you believe in a God, in an omnipotent God,
yeah,
then you know you are, at the end of the day, you are nothing. And for those who took astrophysics class and they saw how big the universe is, how small we are, in all rationale, you should believe that you are indeed limited from all angles. So when I say that it's related to arrogance, related to ignorance, I mean that it's an irrational feeling that leads to an irrational action or irrational decision. Therefore, that would, if it increased on a society level, that would increase the level of ignorance in people.
I see what you mean.
Learn anymore because everybody knows everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I want to change direction a bit. Ibrahim, do you know a few things that you could tell us about what to do, especially in this month of Ramadan? We need to mention Ramadan, and it is a month of blessings. It is a month of kind of resetting, recharging. So how do we increase our humbleness and decrease arrogance in Ramadan?
Well, Ramadan is one of my favorite months, to be honest. Is the one where
nice.
yeah, of course. It's the one where you're like the closest to God. It's where you do the more reflection, and basically it's your chance to like start over. So the first thing that I would advise myself and my fellow brothers also is, if you ever like did something wrong by someone, is just admit that you did that wrong. There's no harm in being in the wrong and saying I'm sorry. Basically, that's a very good thing. And during Ramadan also, it's a very quiet time. It's very your ideas are clearer, so you can reflect on yourself and come up with points and basically bullet points that you wanna improve about yourself. Sorry.
Okay.
So that's basically, and also if we have, of course, you have the chance, read as much Quran as you can, as there's a lot of education about how to behave as a Muslim and as an individual in a society, and that will help you go away from that path of arrogance and make you build a stronger and more admirable connection with people, basically.
Absolutely, and this is a very very good point with the Quran, especially that Quran always acts like when you're reading, when you're not only skimming over the words, when you're actually reading Quran and looking at the meaning of it, it acts as a teacher, and every time you read it, you kind of interact with it a bit more, and eventually it will get to you. You will start feeling those Quranic teachings. So. Before I go to the last point, which is relationship between arrogance and Imam Mahdi, we got a few questions. One is, does an arrogant person know that he's arrogant? What do you guys think?
Absolutely not.
Probably not.
What?
Probably not.
I would say he might have a hint that he is, but he's not strong enough to convert it. So, like, basically.
Well, it's like when you smell bad, you won't be able to smell it yourself, but others will be able to smell it, and perhaps you can ask
What a
others.
nice example.
Be reminded of by others if you are actually behaving like an arrogant person.
That's true. I think when it comes to behavior in general, whether it's good or bad, when a flower doesn't know that it smells that good. It's the people that interact or touch it or smell it knows that it smells that good. And the same thing goes for a person who's behaving bad. Is that when it's normally the reflection, how people react to you is what it's indicative that something maybe is going wrong. But the problem is with arrogance, especially, is that if you're becoming good, if you're a good person, humble and everything, people will like you more. So you become more approachable, which is going to increase the sense that you're more valuable now. So now you're going to, so that's why they call arrogance as the illness of the greats, because only the great ones are more likely to, you need to be good at something, when you're arrogant and you don't know anything, then it's just stupid. But if you're the best one, let's say in a certain field, in medicine, let's say, and you decide to be arrogant about it, this is where it's tough, So now I wanna go. There's another question actually. Is there a positive side to arrogance? Do you guys think that there's a positive side to arrogance?
No.
Absolutely.
There isn't?
There isn't. No.
That's why it's the cause of all bad in the world, because it made Iblis who he is, and it made us bad people. So
exactly, and I don't think that you can reach any higher level in whatever field by being arrogant. You can reach it by being confident yet humble. You can reach it by by being more approachable to people. But being arrogant, I don't think there's any positive side to it.
Arrogant to try to get praises out of people, to get people to compliment him. But what actually happens is the opposites. When you become arrogant, people will see you from like even a lower standard than you were before.
Absolutely, and I think the common thing between world dictators, Stalin, Hitler, Saddam, is that they love to be praised. Harun Rashid, whatever it is, they would actually hire poets and people dedicated just to make them feel. And that's
how do they end up, right?
Sorry.
How do these oppressors
end up? Yeah, absolutely. It's a ibra. It's an example for us to see where even the best one, the one who had, there is no better example than Pharaoh. Pharaoh was able to build the pyramids and stuff like that, which is a huge, maybe one of the best achievements in history. But where did he end up? You see what I mean? So now I want to end on a more positive note, which is, how do we relate not being arrogant to Imam Mahdi? You know, at the end of the day, our main goal is to await our Imam and be more prepared for his return. So if you can tell us about the relationship between humbleness in this case and Imam Mahdi.
Right. So first of all, one should, in this Zaman, one should dedicate almost all his actions to Imam Mahdi, and know that and to be humble enough to believe that he's a servant of Imam Mahdi, which is we will be. But he should be humble enough to believe in himself that he should be that he is a servant, and we're all a servant to Imam Mahdi.
Yeah,
it will have an impact on his actions, and it would definitely in this intidar time would absolutely be one of the best things a man can do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess one other thing that could be important towards Imam Mahdi, and you guys can help me out with this, is at the end of the day, when we're interacting with those other people that are Imam Mahdi will only pick the best of the best for his army, and if we want to be of the followers of Imam Mahdi, then we should raise ourselves to be with that level. But it's I guess it goes back to the ayah that's when man tawadha lillah rafa. So whoever goes lower within himself, God will bring him up. Before doing a summary, there's another question. Anonymous keeps on asking all these questions, and this one is to Mr. Darwash. Do you consider Cristiano Ronaldo arrogant? If yes, why?
Well, I won't give you a definite...
Don't look at your papers. You're going to look at your papers now?
Based on the 7 facts to determine an arrogant person, then...
Okay. And you don't think Messi is arrogant?
I'm sorry?
Messi is not arrogant?
No, he's very humble. And you can see a clear difference. I let it for the other people to discover it by themselves, do their research a bit, and hopefully they'll see that point of view.
Yeah, whatever, man. So it was a beautiful episode. I'm so happy that you guys came along. First of all, it was amazing to see you guys after all this long time. And just to kind of summarize what we talked about, we spoke about the definition of arrogance, and what Quran and Ahlul Bayt have mentioned about arrogance is that the arrogant people, not only do they hurt themselves, they end up hurting others, and they can't even form proper relationships. We spoke about what are the signs of somebody being arrogant, and you can actually tell they take the credit, they kind of discredit everybody else, they don't allow them to talk, etc. And there's sometimes that it's not very, very prevalent. You can't really see it because it's within ourselves. Maybe we don't take actions of it, which is the difference between kubar and takabbur. And then we spoke about how to cure it, and how to be more humble, how to stay true to ourselves by remembering how we will finish in this life. Then you will know how to react through the journey towards the end. Before I finish, there's another question, and I'm addressing this to all of you guys. How do you deal with ignorant people without being arrogant? We got 1 minute. Go.
Well, that's the art of
Of what?
Of diplomacy right here. Is how you get your message across without really, pulling on some strings. So I believe it's up to the individual. If your communication skills are good, try not to make them feel bad, and try.
Absolutely. I mean, what do you guys think? One last word.
I mean, you should always meet someone halfway, and basically that's the best way to.
Is that what you did with your manager? It was very nice having you guys. Thank you, Ali Salmi, Ibrahim Darwish, and my brother Ali Ali. This is your host, Maitham. I want to thank you, everyone. I want to thank Ahmed Al Khabaz in the back for doing all the magic. And inshallah, we'll see you next Friday. We're going to have a special episode about the birth of Imam Al Hassan alayhi salam. So stay tuned. Thank you to all of you who interacted with us. And inshallah, we'll see you next time. Assalamu alaikum.
على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
إلهي عظم البلاء وبرح الخفاء وانكشف الغطاء وانقطع الرجاء أضاقت الأرض ومنعت السماء وأنت المستعان وإليك المشتكى وعليك المعول في الشدة والرخاء. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد أولي الأمر الذين فرضت علينا طاعتهم وعرفتنا بذلك منزلتهم ففرج عنا بحقه فرجا عاجلا قريبا كلمح البصر أو هو أقرب. يا محمد يا علي يا علي يا محمد اكفياني فإنكما كافيان وانصراني فإنكما ناصران يا مولانا يا صاحب الزمان الغوث 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 أدركني 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 الساعة 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 العجب 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 يا أرحم الراحمين بحق محمد وآله الطاهرين.
أمراء الكلام. عن الإمام علي بن أبي طالب عليه السلام أنه قال: أما إنه ليس بين الحق والباطل إلا 4 أصابع. الباطل أن تقول سمعت، والحق أن تقول رأيت.
سلامة قلبك من الهم، دخيل جروحك تبسم، بألمنا ويانا تتألم، شوية حالتك ارحم. سلامة قلبك من الهم، دخيل جروحك تبسم، بألمنا ويانا تتألم، شوية حالتك ارحم. سلامة سلامة قلبك من الهم. شيعتك شعبك والردة دربك، والجرح يا المهدي صوب المهدي يساعدك ربك، يلي من قلبك تاخذ وتعطي لعيونك أغلى دمعة، تنظري بحبك كل مني ندبك يا إمام الشوق، وبشوقك تسمع، تنظر بحبك كل مني ندبك يا إمام الشوق، وبشوقك تسمع. حياك الحيا وسلم، من دمعك خجل زمزم، لجل عينك يا بدر التم، يهون البينا لا تهتم. سلامة سلامة قلبك من الهم. سلامة قلبك قلبك من الهم جروحك تبسم ألمنا ويانا تتألم شوية بحالتك ارحم سلامة قلبك من الهم. نخفي ما نقدر نشكي تتأثر وانت كافي الغيب متحمل أمرها بهمنا نتحير وآخر المعبر الشكوى عبرة تصير من تبقى بقهرها والدمع يكثر بشنه يتستر ماكو دمع تجري ما عندك خبرها والدمع يكثر بشنه يتستر ماكو دمع تجري ما عندك خبرها في وغيرتك تعلم قبل ما نبدي نتكلم حزننا بمهجتك خيم عساك من الحزن تسلم سلامة قلبك من الهم سلامة قلبك من الهم دخيل جروحك تبسم ألمنا ويانا تتألم شوية بحالتك ارحم سلامة قلبك من الهم. عينك تراقب وحقك تعاتب لو إلك ما نشتكي وعنك لهينا هذا قل واجب ندعي ونطالب بيك الله يفرج عليك وعلينا نبكي ونكاتب شخصك الغايب برقعة الحاجة المحب يكتب حنينه نبكي ونكاتب شخصك الغايب برقعة الحاجة المحب يكتب حنينه يقين الشكوى تتسلم نوقعها بدموع ودم ندعي الواحد الأعظم نورك إن تتقدم سلامة قلبك من الهم سلامة قلبك من الهم دخيل جروحك تبسم ألمنا ويانا تتألم شوية بحالتك ارحم سلامة قلبك من الهم دخيل جروحك تبسم ألمنا ويانا تتألم شوية بحالتك ارحم سلامة قلبك من الهم دخيل جروحك تبسم ألمنا ويانا تتألم شوي الليل والنهار يا محول الحول والأحوال حول حالنا حول حالنا حول حالنا إلى أحسن الحال ربنا إننا سمعنا مناديا ينادي للإيمان أن آمنوا بربكم فآمنا ربنا فاغفر لنا ذنوبنا ربنا فاغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار ربنا وآتنا ما وعدتنا القوي المتين الولي الحميد المحصي المبدئ المعيد المحيي المميت الحي القيوم الواجد الماجد الواحد الصمد القادر المقتدر المقدم المؤخر الأول الآخر الظاهر الباطن الوالي المتعالي البر التواب المنتقم العفو الرؤوف مالك الملك ذو الجلال والإكرام المقسط الجامع الغني المغني المانع الضار النافع النور الهادي البديع الباقي الوارث الرشيد الصبور الذي ليس كمثله شيء وهو السميع البصير اللهم صل أفضل صلاة على أسعد مخلوقاتك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم عدد معلوماتك ومداد كلماتك كلما ذكرك الذاكرون وغفل عن ذكره الغافلون
قاضي الحاجات يا قاضي الحاجات يا قاضي الحاجات يا قاضي الحاجات
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين أشهد أن
اللهم رب شهر رمضان الذي أنزلت فيه القرآن وافترضت على عبادك فيه الصيام صل على محمد وآل محمد وارزقني حج بيتك الحرام في عامي هذا وفي كل عام واغفر لي تلك الذنوب العظام فإنه لا يغفرها غيرك يا رحمن يا علام وصل على محمد وآل محمد.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إني أفتتح الثناء بحمدك وأنت مسدد للصواب بمنك وأيقنت أنك أنت أرحم الراحمين في موضع العفو والرحمة وأشد المعاقبين في موضع النكال والنقمة وأعظم المتجبرين في موضع الكبرياء والعظمة. اللهم أذنت لي في دعائك ومسألتك فاسمع يا سميع مدحتي وأجب يا رحيم دعوتي وأغل يا غفور عثرتي. فكم يا إلهي من كربة قد فرجتها وهموم قد كشفتها وعثرة قد أغلتها ورحمة قد نشرتها وحلقة بلاء قد فككتها. الحمد لله الذي لم يتخذ صاحبة ولا ولدا ولم يكن له شريك في الملك ولم يكن له ولي من الظلم وكبره تكبيرا. الحمد لله بجميع محامده كلها على جميع نعمه كلها. الحمد لله الذي لا مضاد له في ملكه ولا منازع له في أمره. الحمد لله الذي لا شريك له في خلقه ولا شبيه له في عظمته. الحمد لله الفاشي في الخلق أمره وحمده الظاهر بالكرم مجده الباسط بالجود يده الذي لا تنقص خزائنه ولا تزيده كثرة العطاء إلا جودا وكرما. إنه هو العزيز الوهاب. اللهم إني أسألك قليلا من كثير مع حاجة بي إليه عظيمة، وغناك عنه قديم، وهو عندي كثير، وهو عليك سهل يسير. اللهم إن عفك عن ذنبي، وتجاوزك عن خطيئتي، وصفحك عن ظلمي، وسترك على قبيح عملي، وحلمك عن كثير جرمي، عندما كان من خطئي وعمدي أطمعني في أن أسألك ما لا أستوجبه منك، الذي رزقتني من رحمتك، وأريتني من قدرتك، وعرفتني من إجابتك، فصرت أدعوك آمنا وأسألك مستأنسا، لا خائفا ولا وجلا، مدلا عليك فيما قصدت فيه إليك. فإن أبت عني عتبت بجهلي عليك، ولعل الذي أبطى عني هو خير لي لعلمك بعاقبة الأمور. فلم أر مولا كريما أصبر على عبد اللئيم منك علي يا رب. إنك تدعوني فأبلي عنك، وتتحبب إلي فأتبغض إليك، وتتودد إلي فلا أقبل منك، كأن لي التطول عليك. فلم يمنعك ذلك من الرحمة لي والإحسان إلي والتفضل علي بجودك وكرمك. فارحم عبدك الجاهل وجود عليهم بفضل إحسانك، إنك جواد كريم. الحمد لله مالك الملك، مجري الفلك، مسخر الرياح، فالق الإصباح، ديان الدين، رب العالمين. الحمد لله على حلمه بعد علمه، والحمد لله على عفه بعد قدرته، والحمد لله على طول أناته في غضبه، وهو قادر على ما يريد. الحمد لله خالق الخلق، باسط الرزق، فالق الإصباح، ذي الجلال والإكرام والفضل والإنعام، الذي بعد فلا يرى وقرب فشهد النجوى، تبارك وتعالى. الحمد لله الذي ليس له منازع يعادله، ولا شبيه يشاكله، ولا ظهير يعوضه. قهر بعزته العزة، وتواضع لعظمته العظمى، فبلغ بقدرته ما يشاء. الحمد لله الذي يجيبني حين أنادي ويستر على كل عورة وأنا أعصيه ويعظم النعمة علي فلا أجازي فكم من موهبة هنية قد أعطى وعظيمة مخوفة قد كفى وبهجة مونقة قد أراني فأثني عليه حامدا وأذكره مسبحا الحمد لله الذي لا يهتك حجابه ولا يغلق بابه ولا يرد سائله ولا يخيب آمله الحمد لله الذي يؤمن الخائفين وينجي الصالحين ويرفع المستضعفين ويضع المستكبرين ويهلك ملوكا ويستخلف آخرين والحمد لله قاصم الجبارين مبير الظالمين مدرك الهاربين نكال الظالمين صريخ المستصرخين موضع حاجات الطالبين معتمد المؤمنين الحمد لله الذي من خشيته ترعد السماء وسكانها وترجف الأرض وعمارها وتموج البحار ومن يسبح في غمراته الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله الحمد لله الذي يخلق ولم يخلق ويرزق ولا يرزق ويطعم ولا يطعم ويميت الأحياء ويحيي الموتى وهو حي لا يموت بيده الخير وهو على كل شيء قدير اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك وأمينك وصفيك وحبيبك وخيرتك من خلقك وحافظ سرك ومبلغ رسالاتك أفضل وأحسن وأجمل وأكمل وأزكى وأنمى وأطيب وأطهر وأسنى وأكثر ما صليت وباركت وترحمت وتحننت وسلمت على أحد من عبادك وأنبيائك ورسلك وصفتك وأهل الكرامة عليك من خلقك اللهم وصل على علي أمير المؤمنين ووصي رسول رب العالمين عبدك ووليك وأخي رسولك وحجتك على خلقك وآيتك الكبرى والنبأ العظيم وصل على الصديقة الطاهرة فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين وصل على سبتي الرحمة وإمامي الهدى الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة، وصل على أئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والخلف الهادي المهدي، حججك على عبادك وأمنائك في بلادك صلاة كثيرة دائمة. اللهم وصل على ولي أمرك القائم المؤمل والعدل المنتظر، وحفه بملائكتك المغربين، وأيده بروح القدس يا رب العالمين. اللهم اجعله الداعي إلى كتابك والقائم بدينك، استخلفه في الأرض كما استخلفت الذين من قبله، مكن له دينه الذي ارتضيته له، أبدله من بعد خوفه أمنا، يعبدك لا يشرك بك شيئا. اللهم أعزه وأعزز به، وانصره وانتصر به، وانصره نصرا عزيزا، وافتح له فتحا يسيرا، واجعل له من لدنك سلطانا نصيرا. اللهم أظهر به دينك وسنة نبيك حتى لا يستخفي بشيء من الحق مخافة أحد من الخلق. اللهم إنا نرغب إليك في دولة كريمة تعز بها الإسلام وأهله، وتذل بها النفاق وأهله، وتجعلنا فيها من الدعاة إلى طاعتك والقادة إلى سبيلك، وترزقنا بها كرامة الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم ما عرفتنا من الحق فحملنا، وما غسرنا عنه فبلغنا. اللهم المم به شعثنا، واشعب به صدعنا، وارتق به فتقنا، وكثر به قلتنا، وأعزز به ذلتنا، وأغن به عائلنا، واغض به عن مغرمنا، واجبر به فقرنا، وسد به خلتنا، ويسر به عسرنا، وبيض به وجوهنا، وفك به أسرنا، وأنجح به طلبتنا، وأنجز به مواعيدنا، واستجب به دعوتنا، وأعطنا به سؤلنا، وبلغنا به من الدنيا والآخرة آمالنا، وأعطنا به فوق رغبتنا يا خير المسؤولين وأوسع المعطين. اشف به صدورنا، واذهب به غيظ قلوبنا، واهدنا به لما اختلف فيه من الحق بإذنك، إنك تهدي من تشاء إلى صراط مستقيم وانصرنا به على عدوك وعدونا إله الحق آمين. اللهم إنا نشكو إليك فقد نبينا صلواتك عليه وآله وغيبة ولينا وكثرة عدونا وقلة عددنا وشدة الفتن بنا وتظاهر الزمان علينا فصل على محمد وآله وعنا على ذلك بفتح منك تعجله وبضر تكشفه ونصر تعزه وسلطان حق تظهره ورحمة منك تجللنا وعافية منك تلبسنا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قال الملأ الذين استكبروا من قومه لنخرجنك يا شعيب والذين آمنوا معك من قريتنا أو لتعودن في ملتنا قال أولو كنا كارهين. قد افترينا على الله كذبا إن عدنا في ملتكم بعد إذ نجانا الله منها وما يكون لنا أن نعود فيها إلا أن يشاء الله ربنا وسع ربنا كل شيء علما على الله توكلنا ربنا افتح بيننا وبين قومنا بالحق وأنت خير الفاتحين. وقال الملأ الذين كفروا من قومه لئن اتبعتم شعيبا إنكم إذا لخاسرون فأخذتهم الرجفة فأصبحوا في دارهم جاثمين. الذين كذبوا شعيبا كأن لم يغنوا فيها الذين كذبوا شعيبا كانوا هم الخاسرين. فتولى عنهم وقال يا قوم لقد أبلغتكم رسالات ربي ونصحت لكم فكيف آسى على قوم كافرين. وما أرسلنا في قرية من نبي إلا أخذنا أهلها بالبأساء والضراء لعلهم يضرعون ثم بدلنا مكان السيئة الحسنة حتى عفوا وقالوا قد مس آباءنا الضراء والسراء فأخذناهم بغتة وهم لا يشعرون. ولو أن أهل القرى آمنوا واتقوا لفتحنا عليهم بركات من السماء والأرض ولكن كذبوا فأخذناهم بما كانوا يكسبون. أفأمن أهل القرى أن يأتيهم بأسنا بياتا وهم نائمون أو أمن أهل القرى أن يأتيهم بأسنا ضحى وهم يلعبون أفأمنوا مكر الله فلا يأمن مكر الله إلا القوم الخاسرون. أولم يهد للذين يرثون الأرض من بعد أهلها أن لو نشاء أصبناهم بذنوبهم ونطبع على قلوبهم فهم لا يسمعون
تلك القرى نقص عليك من أنبائها ولقد جاءتهم رسلهم بالبينات فما كانوا ليؤمنوا بما كذبوا من قبل كذلك يطبع الله على قلوب الكافرين وما وجدنا لأكثرهم من عهد وإن وجدنا أكثرهم لفاسقين ثم بعثنا من بعدهم موسى بآياتنا إلى فرعون وملئه فظلموا بها فانظر كيف كان عاقبة المفسدين وقال موسى يا فرعون إني رسول من رب العالمين حقيق على ألا أقول على الله إلا الحق قد جئتكم ببينة من ربكم فأرسل معي بني إسرائيل قال إن كنت جئت بآية فأت بها إن كنت من الصادقين فألقى عصاه فإذا هي ثعبان مبين ونزع يده فإذا هي بيضاء للناظرين قال الملأ من قوم فرعون إن هذا لساحر عليم يريد أن يخرجكم من أرضكم فماذا تأمرون قالوا أرجه وأخاه وأرسل في المدائن حاشرين يأتوك بكل ساحر عليم وجاء السحرة فرعون قالوا إن لنا لأجرا إن كنا نحن الغالبين قال نعم وإنكم لمن المقربين قالوا يا موسى إما أن تلقي وإما أن نكون نحن الملقين قال ألقوا فلما ألقوا سحروا أعين الناس واسترهبوهم وجاءوا بسحر عظيم وأوحينا إلى موسى أن ألق عصاك فإذا هي تلقف ما يأفكون فوقع الحق وبطل ما كانوا يعملون فغلبوا هنالك وانقلبوا صاغرين وألقي السحرة ساجدين قالوا آمنا برب العالمين رب موسى وهارون قال فرعون آمنتم به قبل أن آذن لكم إن هذا لمكر مكرتموه في المدينة لتخرجوا منها أهلها فسوف تعلمون لأقطعن أيديكم وأرجلكم من خلاف ثم لأصلبنكم أجمعين قالوا إنا إلى ربنا منقلبون وما تنقم منا إلا أن آمنا بآيات ربنا لما جاءتنا ربنا أفرغ علينا صبرا وتوفنا مسلمين وقال الملأ من قوم فرعون أتذر موسى وقومه ليفسدوا في الأرض ويذرك وآلهتك قال سنقتل أبناءهم ونستحيي نساءهم وإنا فوقهم قاهرون قال موسى لقومه استعينوا بالله واصبروا إن الأرض لله يورثها من يشاء من عباده والعاقبة للمتقين قالوا أوذينا من قبل أن تأتينا ومن بعد ما جئتنا قال عسى ربكم أن يهلك عدوكم ويستخلفكم في الأرض فينظر كيف تعملون ولقد أخذنا آل فرعون بالسنين ونقص من الثمرات لعلهم يذكرون فإذا جاءتهم الحسنة قالوا لنا هذه وإن تصبهم سيئة يطيروا بموسى ومن معه ألا إنما طائرهم عند الله ولكن أكثرهم لا يعلمون وقالوا مهما تأتنا به من آية لتسحرنا بها فما نحن لك بمؤمنين فأرسلنا عليهم الطوفان والجراد والقمل والضفادع والدم آيات مفصلات فاستكبروا وكانوا قوما مجرمين. ولما وقع عليهم الرجز قالوا يا موسى ادع لنا ربك بما عهد عندك لئن كشفت عنا الرجز لنؤمنن لك ولنرسلن معك بني إسرائيل. فلما كشفنا عنهم الرجز إلى أجل هم بالغوه إذا هم ينكثون فانتقمنا منهم فأغرقناهم في اليم بأنهم كذبوا بآياتنا وكانوا عنها غافلين. وأورثنا القوم الذين كانوا يستضعفون مشارق الأرض ومغاربها التي باركنا فيها وتمت كلمة ربك الحسنى على بني إسرائيل بما صبروا ودمرنا ما كان يصنع فرعون وقومه وما كانوا يعرشون. وجاوزنا ببني إسرائيل البحر فأتوا على قوم يعكفون على أصنام لهم قالوا يا موسى اجعل لنا إلها كما لهم آلهة قال إنكم قوم تجهلون إن هؤلاء متبر ما هم فيه وباطل ما كانوا يعملون. قال أغير الله أبغيكم إلها وهو فضلكم على العالمين. وإذ أنجيناكم من آل فرعون يسومونكم سوء العذاب يقتلون أبناءكم ويستحيون نساءكم وفي ذلكم بلاء من ربكم عظيم. وواعدنا موسى 30 ليلة وأتممناها ب10 فتم ميقات ربه 40 ليلة. وقال موسى لأخيه هارون اخلفني في قومي وأصلح ولا تتبع سبيل المفسدين. ولما جاء موسى لميقاتنا وكلمه ربه قال رب أرني أنظر إليك قال لن تراني ولكن انظر إلى الجبل فإن استقر مكانه فسوف تراني. فلما تجلى ربه للجبل جعله دكا وخر موسى صعقا. فلما أفاق قال سبحانك تبت إليك وأنا أول المؤمنين. قال يا موسى إني اصطفيتك على الناس برسالاتي وبكلامي فخذ ما آتيتك وكن من الشاكرين. وكتبنا له في الألواح من كل شيء موعظة وتفصيلا لكل شيء فخذها بقوة وأمر قومك يأخذوا بأحسنها سأريكم دار الفاسقين. سأصرف عن آياتي الذين يتكبرون في الأرض بغير الحق وإن يروا كل آية لا يؤمنوا بها وإن يروا سبيل الرشد لا يتخذوه سبيلا وإن يروا سبيل الغي يتخذوه سبيلا. ذلك بأنهم كذبوا بآياتنا وكانوا عنها غافلين. والذين كذبوا بآياتنا ولقاء الآخرة حبطت أعمالهم هل يجزون إلا ما كانوا يعملون. واتخذ قوم موسى من بعده من حليهم عجلا جسدا له خوار ألم يروا أنه لا يكلمهم ولا يهديهم سبيلا اتخذوه وكانوا ظالمين. ولما سقط في أيديهم ورأوا أنهم قد ضلوا قالوا لئن لم يرحمنا ربنا ويغفر لنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. ولما رجع موسى إلى قومه غضبان أسفا قال بئس ما خلفتموني من بعدي أعجلتم أمر ربكم وألقى الألواح وأخذ برأس أخيه يجره إليه قال ابن إن القوم استضعفوني وكادوا يقتلونني فلا تشمت بي الأعداء ولا تجعلني مع القوم الظالمين ثم تابوا من بعدها وآمنوا بها هدى ورحمة للذين هم لربهم يرهبون واختار موسى قومه 70 رجلا لميقاتنا فلما أخذتهم الرجفة قال رب لو شئت أهلكتهم من قبل وإياي أتهلكنا بما فعل السفهاء منا إن هي إلا فتنتك تضل بها من تشاء وتهدي من تشاء أنت ولينا فاغفر لنا وارحمنا وأنت خير الغافرين واكتب لنا في هذه الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة إنا هدنا إليك قال عذابي أصيب به من أشاء ورحمتي وسعت كل شيء فسأكتبها للذين يتقون ويؤتون الزكاة والذين هم بآياتنا يؤمنون الذين يتبعون الرسول النبي الأمي الذي يجدونه مكتوبا عندهم في التوراة والإنجيل يأمرهم بالمعروف وينهاهم عن المنكر ويحل لهم الطيبات ويحرم عليهم الخبائث ويضع عنهم إصرهم والأغلال التي كانت عليهم فالذين آمنوا به وعزروه ونصروه واتبعوا النور الذي أنزل معه أولئك هم المفلحون قل يا أيها الناس إني رسول الله إليكم جميعا الذي له ملك السماوات والأرض لا إله إلا هو يحيي ويميت فآمنوا بالله ورسوله النبي الأمي الذي يؤمن بالله وكلماته واتبعوه لعلكم تهتدون ومن قوم موسى أمة يهدون بالحق وبه يعدلون وقطعناهم 12 أسباطا أمما وأوحينا إلى موسى إذ استسقاه قومه أن اضرب بعصاك الحجر فانبجست منه 12 عينا قد علم كل أناس مشربهم وظللنا عليهم الغمام وأنزلنا عليهم المن والسلوى كلوا من طيبات ما رزقناكم وما ظلمونا ولكن كانوا أنفسهم يظلمون وإذ قيل لهم اسكنوا هذه القرية وكلوا منها حيث شئتم وقولوا حطة وادخلوا الباب سجدا نغفر لكم خطيئاتكم سنزيد المحسنين فبدل الذين ظلموا منهم قولا غير الذي قيل لهم فأرسلنا عليهم رجزا من السماء بما كانوا يظلمون واسألهم عن القرية التي كانت حاضرة البحر إذ يعدون في السبت إذ تأتيهم حيتانهم يوم سبتهم شرعا ويوم لا يسبتون لا تأتيهم كذلك نبلوهم بما كانوا يفسقون وإذ قالت أمة منهم لم تعظون قوما الله مهلكهم أو معذبهم عذابا شديدا قالوا معذرة إلى ربكم ولعلهم يتقون فلما نسوا ما ذكروا به أنجينا الذين ينهون عن السوء وأخذنا الذين ظلموا بعذاب بئيس بما كانوا يفسقون فلما عتوا عما نهوا عنه قلنا لهم كونوا قردة خاسئين وإذ تأذن ربك ليبعثن عليهم إلى يوم القيامة من يسومهم سوء العذاب إن ربك لسريع العقاب وإنه لغفور رحيم وقطعناهم في الأرض أمما منهم الصالحون ومنهم دون ذلك وبلوناهم بالحسنات والسيئات لعلهم يرجعون فخلف من بعدهم خلف ورثوا الكتاب يأخذون عرض هذا الأدنى ويقولون سيغفر لنا وإن يأتهم عرض مثله يأخذوه ألم يؤخذ عليهم ميثاق الكتاب ألا يقولوا على الله إلا الحق ودرسوا ما فيه والدار الآخرة خير للذين يتقون أفلا تعقلون والذين يمسكون بالكتاب وأقاموا الصلاة إنا لا نضيع أجر المصلحين وإذ نتقنا الجبل فوقهم كأنه ظلة وظنوا أنه واقع بهم خذوا ما آتيناكم بقوة واذكروا ما فيه لعلكم تتقون وإذ أخذ ربك من بني آدم من ظهورهم ذريتهم وأشهدهم على أنفسهم ألست بربكم قالوا بلى شهدنا أن تقولوا يوم القيامة إنا كنا عن هذا غافلين أو تقولوا إنما أشرك آباؤنا من قبل وكنا ذرية من بعدهم أفتهلكنا بما فعل المبطلون وكذلك نفصل الآيات ولعلهم يرجعون واتل عليهم نبأ الذي آتيناه آياتنا فانسلخ منها فأتبعه الشيطان فكان من الغاوين ولو شئنا لرفعناه بها ولكنه أخلد إلى الأرض واتبع هواه فمثله كمثل الكلب إن تحمل عليه يلهث أو تتركه يلهث ذلك مثل القوم الذين كذبوا بآياتنا فقصص القصص لعلهم يتفكرون ساء مثلا القوم الذين كذبوا بآياتنا وأنفسهم كانوا يظلمون من يهد الله فهو المهتدي ومن يضلل فأولئك هم الخاسرون ولقد ذرأنا لجهنم كثيرا من الجن والإنس لهم قلوب لا يفقهون بها ولهم أعين لا يبصرون بها ولهم آذان لا يسمعون بها أولئك كالأنعام بل هم أضل أولئك هم الغافلون ولله الأسماء الحسنى فادعوه بها وذروا الذين يلحدون في أسمائه سيجزون ما كانوا يعملون وممن خلقنا أمة يهدون بالحق وبه يعدلون والذين كذبوا بآياتنا سنستدرجهم من حيث لا يعلمون وأملي لهم إن كيدي متين أولم يتفكروا ما بصاحبهم من جنة إن هو إلا نذير مبين أولم ينظروا في ملكوت السماوات والأرض وما خلق الله من شيء وأن عسى أن يكون قد اقترب أجلهم فبأي حديث بعده يؤمنون من يضلل الله فلا هادي له ويذرهم في طغيانهم يعمهون يسألونك عن الساعة أيان مرساها قل إنما علمها عند ربي لا يجليها لوقتها إلا هو ثقلت في السماوات والأرض لا تأتيكم إلا بغتة يسألونك كأنك حفي عنها قل إنما علمها عند الله ولكن أكثر الناس لا يعلمون قل لا أملك لنفسي نفعا ولا ضرا إلا ما شاء الله ولو كنت أعلم الغيب لاستكثرت من الخير وما مسني السوء إن أنا إلا نذير وبشير لقوم يؤمنون هو الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وجعل منها زوجها ليسكن إليها فلما تغشاها حملت حملا خفيفا فمرت به فلما أثقلت دعوا الله ربهما لئن آتيتنا صالحا لنكونن من الشاكرين فلما آتاهما صالحا جعلا له شركاء فيما آتاهما فتعالى الله عما يشركون أيشركون ما لا يخلق شيئا وهم يخلقون ولا يستطيعون لهم نصرا ولا أنفسهم ينصرون وإن تدعوهم إلى الهدى لا يتبعوكم سواء عليكم أدعوتموهم أم أنتم صامتون إن الذين تدعون من دون الله عباد أمثالكم فادعوهم فليستجيبوا لكم إن كنتم صادقين ألهم أرجل يمشون بها أم لهم أيدي يبطشون بها أم لهم أعين يبصرون بها أم لهم آذان يسمعون بها قل ادعوا شركاءكم ثم كيدون فلا تنظرون إن وليي الله الذي نزل الكتاب وهو يتولى الصالحين والذين تدعون من دونه لا يستطيعون نصركم ولا أنفسهم ينصرون وإن تدعوهم إلى الهدى لا يسمعوا وتراهم ينظرون إليك وهم لا يبصرون خذ العفو وأمر بالعرف وأعرض عن الجاهلين وإما ينزغنك من الشيطان نزغ فاستعذ بالله إنه سميع عليم إن الذين اتقوا إذا مسهم طائف من الشيطان تذكروا فإذا هم مبصرون وإخوانهم يمدونهم في الغي ثم لا يقصرون وإذا لم تأتهم بآية قالوا لولا اجتبيتها قل إنما أتبع ما يوحى إلي من ربي هذا بصائر من ربكم وهدى ورحمة لقوم يؤمنون وإذا قرئ القرآن فاستمعوا له وأنصتوا لعلكم ترحمون واذكر ربك في نفسك تضرعا وخيفة ودون الجهر من القول بالغدو والآصال ولا تكن من الغافلين إن الذين عند ربك لا يستكبرون عن عبادته ويسبحونه وله يسجدون بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يسألونك عن الأنفال قل الأنفال لله والرسول فاتقوا الله وأصلحوا ذات بينكم وأطيعوا الله ورسوله إن كنتم مؤمنين إنما المؤمنون الذين إذا ذكر الله وجلت قلوبهم وإذا تليت عليهم آياته زادتهم إيمانا وعلى ربهم يتوكلون الذين يقيمون الصلاة ومما رزقناهم ينفقون أولئك هم المؤمنون حقا لهم درجات عند ربهم ومغفرة ورزق كريم كما أخرجك ربك من بيتك بالحق وإن فريقا من المؤمنين لكارهون يجادلونك في الحق بعدما تبين كأنما يساقون إلى الموت وهم ينظرون وإذ يعدكم الله إحدى الطائفتين أنها لكم وتودون أن غير ذات الشوكة تكون لكم ويريد الله أن يحق الحق بكلماته ويقطع دابر الكافرين ليحق الحق ويبطل الباطل ولو كره المجرمون إذ تستغيثون ربكم فاستجاب لكم أني ممدكم ب1000 من الملائكة مردفين وما جعله الله إلا بشرى ولتطمئن به قلوبكم وما النصر إلا من عند الله إن الله عزيز حكيم إذ يغشيكم النعاس أمنة منه وينزل عليكم من السماء ماء ليطهركم به ويذهب عنكم رجز الشيطان وليربط على قلوبكم ويثبت به الأقدام إذ يوحي ربك إلى الملائكة أني معكم فثبتوا الذين آمنوا سألقي في قلوب الذين كفروا الرعب فاضربوا فوق الأعناق واضربوا منهم كل بنان ذلك بأنهم شاقوا الله ورسوله ومن يشاقق الله ورسوله فإن الله شديد العقاب ذلكم فذوقوه وأن للكافرين عذاب النار يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا لقيتم الذين كفروا زحفا فلا تولوهم الأدبار ومن يولهم يومئذ دبره إلا متحرفا لقتال أو متحيزا إلى فئة فقد باء بغضب من الله ومأواه جهنم وبئس المصير فلم تقتلوهم ولكن الله قتلهم وما رميت إذ رميت ولكن الله رمى وليبلي المؤمنين منه بلاء حسنا إن الله سميع عليم ذلكم وأن الله موهن كيد الكافرين إن تستفتحوا فقد جاءكم الفتح وإن تنتهوا فهو خير لكم وإن تعودوا نعد ولن تغني عنكم فئتكم شيئا ولو كثرت وأن الله مع المؤمنين يا أيها الذين آمنوا أطيعوا الله ورسوله ولا تولوا عنه وأنتم تسمعون ولا تكونوا كالذين قالوا سمعنا وهم لا يسمعون إن شر الدواب عند الله الصم البكم الذين لا يعقلون ولو علم الله فيهم خيرا لأسمعهم ولو أسمعهم لتولوا وهم معرضون يا أيها الذين آمنوا استجيبوا لله وللرسول إذا دعاكم لما يحييكم واعلموا أن الله يحول بين المرء وقلبه وأنه إليه تحشرون واتقوا فتنة لا تصيبن الذين ظلموا منكم خاصة واعلموا أن الله شديد العقاب واذكروا إذ أنتم قليل مستضعفون في الأرض تخافون أن يتخطفكم الناس فآواكم وأيدكم بنصره ورزقكم من الطيبات لعلكم تشكرون يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تخونوا الله والرسول وتخونوا أماناتكم وأنتم تعلمون واعلموا أنما أموالكم وأولادكم فتنة وأن الله عنده أجر عظيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا إن تتقوا الله يجعل لكم فرقانا ويكفر عنكم سيئاتكم ويغفر لكم والله ذو الفضل العظيم وإذ يمكر بك الذين كفروا ليثبتوك أو يقتلوك أو يخرجوك ويمكرون ويمكر الله والله خير الماكرين وإذا تتلى عليهم آياتنا قالوا قد سمعنا لو نشاء لقلنا مثل هذا إن هذا إلا أساطير الأولين وإذ قالوا اللهم إن كان هذا هو الحق من عندك فأمطر علينا حجارة من السماء أو ائتنا بعذاب أليم وما كان الله ليعذبهم وأنت فيهم وما كان الله معذبهم وهم يستغفرون وما لهم ألا يعذبهم الله وهم يصدون عن المسجد الحرام وما كانوا أولياءه إن أولياؤه إلا المتقون ولكن أكثرهم لا يعلمون وما كان صلاتهم عند البيت إلا مكاء وتصدية فذوقوا العذاب بما كنتم تكفرون إن الذين كفروا ينفقون أموالهم ليصدوا عن سبيل الله فسينفقونها ثم تكون عليهم حسرة ثم يغلبون والذين كفروا إلى جهنم يحشرون ليميز الله الخبيث من الطيب ويجعل الخبيث بعضه على بعض فيرقمه جميعا فيجعله في جهنم أولئك هم الخاسرون قل للذين كفروا إن ينتهوا يغفر لهم ما قد سلف وإن يعودوا فقد مضت سنة الأولين وقاتلوهم حتى لا تكون فتنة ويكون الدين كله لله فإن انتهوا فإن الله بما يعملون بصير وإن تولوا فاعلموا أن الله مولاكم نعم المولى ونعم النصير صدق الله العلي العظيم
إنا